embrace the concept of investing in yourself, investing in your earning capacity. So this are like a lot of things. It may sound overwhelming, but it actually is not. Anybody can define what financial well-being means to them. For someone, it could be maybe being able to cater to your immediate responsibility and being able to do that on a sustainable like level in the next 5 years. You still feel okay. For another person, is not being broke. For another person, is like not working. For if it's like about retiring early and all of that, right?
Hello and welcome back to Sòrò, sókè. This is a podcast where we aim to learn, understand, and demystify life in Africa and African lives. Today we're talking about improving the financial literacy in Africa, but specifically in Nigeria. Joining us today is Hafsat. Please, would you like to introduce yourself?
Zainab, thank you so much for inviting me to this podcast. I am I'm excited about this. So, my name is Hafsat Itanola. I'm a Nigerian. I am a chartered accountant by profession, but there's one thing I love to talk about is personal finance, financial well-being, financial education. So, yes, that's one thing I'll always talk about.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so we're gonna really delve into kind of like different topics and points. But just to give the listener a general summary of what financial literacy and specifically is, essentially it's financial literacy could be understood as a person's minimal knowledge about financial terms such as money, inflation, interest rate, credit cards. But besides this, is the ability and the skills of the person to use all this information in personal life, being aware of the consequences of their spending, etc. So, do you agree with this definition? Would you add something, take away something from what I said?
I totally agree with the definition. Yes, that's what financial literacy is about. It's your knowledge about money
Mhm.
and then all of other monetary concepts. For instance, do you understand what interest is? Do you understand what it means to budget your finances? Do you understand what savings is, investment is? Why? Because your knowledge about this will determine how you practice that information, how you make use of that information towards improving like your financial situation. So you captured the whole essence of the definition. And the thing about it is the consequences or the implication of that knowledge. What do you use it for? For instance, somebody that doesn't understand the concept of interest might have a habit of borrowing money all of the time,
Mm,
regardless of if the interest is high interest or low. You're ignorant about this information. But when you understand the concept of interest, you know if you're collecting money for something that is reasonable or something that is not reasonable. When you understand the concept of budgeting your finances, you'll be able to track your expenses. You make use of that information towards making like wise financial decisions, right? So the literacy is just about your knowledge about money and monetary concepts, and then how you use this towards improving your financial well-being.
mhm. Okay, okay. And through my research, I found that less than a third of sub-Saharan Africans' population is actually financially literate.
Yeah.
In contrast to the OECD countries, where over half the population is. I would like to ask you, how did your interest in finance actually start?
There's a lot of story behind that actually. So, like I said initially, I kind of like have a background in accounting,
Uh-huh.
right? My undergraduate was in accounting, but doesn't mean they taught me how to apply monetary concept to my financial life, right? It was more about companies, organization, how to
Mm,
prepare financial statement and all of those things, right? So I didn't really get that exposure during my undergraduate. But then I graduated, I was serving, and after a while I realized that I wanted more for myself, right? I was in an organization whereby the salary, to me, I felt like that salary was nothing to write home about. But I was in an environment where people would be like, oh, you're lucky, you're earning 50,000, you should be happy. And I'm like, So I kind of noticed the environment. Also, people within my workplace were very much afraid of taking risk. I was like, I am young. I don't have a family yet. Why should I not be in the labor market? I should be actively in the labor market. No, I'm not just going to jump on anything that comes, right? So I realized that I needed to move out of my comfort zone. But one of the constraining factor was money. When it comes to money, you money stops you from doing a lot of things, especially if you have to rely on maybe family, external people, or borrow me money to do this, do that. So money was kind of like influencing my decision, but I was like, no, I wasn't going to allow that happen. I was going to take a bold step and leave my comfort zone. I was going to go to Lagos State because Lagos at that point was is the bubbling place in Nigeria. That's where you see more organizations. That's where the competition is more intense, but then there's a higher chance of you getting an income that will commensurate the effort you're putting in your workplace. So I think to me, it was more like if I'm going to be stressed, then they're going to pay me for that stress, right? So I summoned the courage and I moved to Lagos and I got a salary bump. That was like the major thing. But one thing I wasn't so prepared for was the fact that an increase in income was going to come with an increase in expenses. And the lifestyle in Lagos was is very, very lavish, very, very high. Transportation, feeding. In fact, just your needs is expensive. Not to talk of your wants. And then it's an environment whereby everybody is constantly spending money. There's societal pressure, everything. Everybody's looking at you like, oh, you're working in a bank, so why don't you have this? Why don't you have that? Right? So that period kind of like exposed me to the fact that it's not just about earning money, it's about what you do with the money that you have.
Mm,
So I realized it wasn't about my income now. It was about my expenses. And that was like the point where I now realized that I needed to manage my finances. So I think having a background in accounting helped me. I knew the concept of budgeting. I knew the concept of saving. I knew the concept of loan investment. And so I started translating that into my lifestyle, right? So I will budget my income every month because I needed to settle down in the new environment. So
mm,
I was very, very like critical and rational with my finances. I will budget my income. I will plan my income properly. I separated my needs from my wants. And then during that period, I just found myself writing about it on LinkedIn. Consider the fact that I already had like I was already visible on LinkedIn. I share personal stuff, but somehow it went from personal stuff to articles about managing your money, sharing templates for people. So I just realized that I wanted to embark on a financial wellness journey. And I wanted to do that with other people because clearly a lot of people are also navigating this money dilemma. Money is something that stresses us all the
yeah.
time. So I wanted to do that with other people. I want to take people on that journey. So I started writing content about personal finance. And right now it's about 2 years of doing that actively. And I kind of like created a brand name from that, Money Chat with Hafsat, right? So Money Chat is with Hafsat is the name behind all of this thing. And I like to introduce Money Chat with Hafsat as a financial wellness community that is dedicated to nurturing financial responsibility among young adults. So I'm very specific about the audience, young people like myself, people that earn income, people that want to do so much for themselves, and
Mm,
people that need to break free from limitations, from barriers. I hate it when people say, I don't have money, that's why I'm not doing that business. I don't have
mm,
money, that's why I can't leave my comfort zone. Or I don't have money, that's why I can't. We accept a lot of bullshit because of money. So I don't want that, right? So I want to take people like myself on that journey and making them understand that regardless of how little you have, what you have, you can make so much more with it. Have
mm,
your own equity contribution. When you have your equity contribution, it's easier for you to meet somebody else to add and help you. But if you stay put and waiting for somebody to come and fund your dreams for you, it's not feasible, right? So it's more of the Gen Z, the millennials, nurturing financial responsibility about them. And it's also about empowering young people to break free from financial constraints and live life on their own terms. And you can do this by from one financial decision at a time, right? So where you make the first good financial decision, it's easier for you to transfer that into another wiser financial decision. So basically, that's like the story about money chat with Hafsah. It wasn't it happened. It was my experience. It was what I was living through, and it's just that I don't want to do this alone. I want to carry a lot of people along with it. So that's how money chat with Hafsat started.
Yeah. No, you can actually tell you really love this what you do because you could just tell from your smile and how you talk about this and how, yeah, just the story. You can tell that you really love it. But I feel like
Yeah,
financial literacy and budgeting, when people talk about that, a lot of people don't enjoy it like you do. But you look like you really enjoy budgeting and splitting your needs and wants.
yeah,
I think we need to have that type of light prospect because I feel like when people talk about budgeting, it's usually like, oh, you need to stop spending what you're doing or
yeah.
wasting money. So it's kind of negative. But I think you should have a we should look at it differently. And I think you've got that. You've seen it differently, and how actually if you start budgeting certain ways and understand financial literacy a lot better, you can improve your life rather than it
Yes,
being negative.
yes, honestly. In fact, the driving force behind it, the driving concept behind it is about alleviating financial stress.
Mhm,
So it's not from a limiting part, it's from an empowering aspect. For instance, budgeting will show you how you're spending your money. It will show you if there are leaks, if there are wasteful habits that you need to cut from. So now if you stop that, it means you have more resource to transfer to other aspects of your life that are more important for you. For
mhm,
instance, you're trying to save for a course. Unknowingly to you, the money you spend on coke in a month, it's quite tangible. So imagine if you forfeit some of that money and transfer it, you're able to save more money. The sooner you save money, the sooner you're able to fund that course. You take that certification, you're on your way to increasing your income, right? So it's about redirecting things from places that are not adding meaning to your life to places that will add meaning to your life. So it's about empowering you. Another thing is it's stress. When we look at the fact that we do not have money, it breaks us down. You
mhm,
have so much things you want to do, but you cannot do it. But when you create a plan of how you're going to do it, like for me, it works for me. And other people that I've worked with, they tell you it works for them too. So it's about when you plan that income, you can tell that, oh, I might not be able to achieve this in January,
mhm,
but if I do this and do that, there's a higher chance that I'll be able to achieve this by April. Now, seeing that there's a roadmap, seeing that there is clarity, it makes you feel better. It reduces your stress. It's no more, I cannot do this, I cannot afford it. It's more like, oh, I cannot do this now, but in the next few months,
mhm,
I will be able to achieve it. So financial literacy and then applying that knowledge as a way of alleviating financial stress for you. So
mhm.
that's like from the angle where I communicate and pass the message. So I don't make people feel like it's a lot of technical jargon. You
Yeah.
don't know how to create a budget. I simplify it for you. In fact, I work with you to show you that budgeting is not something difficult or complicated. You
Mhm.
can do it. And that's the angle I will always come from.
Mm. I think my next question was going to be about how you can increase financial literacy in people, but I think you've touched on that a little bit already. But do you have anything you'd like to add?
Okay, for instance, right now, that is what we are doing, right? On this podcast, you are
Mhm,
doing it. And nowadays, there's more people like you and I that are very much interested in the concept of financial literacy and creating more awareness. In fact, government, non-governmental like organization, even corporate organization, right? They initiate a lot of webinars, workshops, trying to spread the word around financial literacy. So a lot of us are beginning to play an active part in that area. And I believe that way we are demystifying all of this concept and making it easier for people to understand and for people to relate with. A lot of people are growing interest in this area. There are a lot of content creators like myself and educators like myself in that area. So I think we're really, really doing good in that aspect. Another thing is the fact that there's social media now. A lot of people are using phone. So as far as we can digitize the concept, these terminologies, then there's a higher chance that more people are going to get across this information.
yeah, yeah. And so just to touch on things that you've mentioned, sometimes
Yeah.
someone might be listening to this and think, okay, budgeting is important, saving is important. But when I
Yeah.
don't even earn enough to cover what I need, how can I save to cover what I want? I think, I don't know if anybody else thinks that, but sometimes you think I don't even earn enough for the
Yeah.
basic. So I can't take from that now and put it aside. Like what, how do we get to that stage where you're like, okay, you actually have enough now to save, or do you think you always have enough that you can start budgeting?
You always have something that you can start with, right? If I'm
Mhm,
starting with the last thing you said, you always have something to start with. Like I've said earlier, a lot of time we look at what we don't have, we forget that we have something.
mm,
In fact, I'm writing a book in that area about like sources of income or some income stream that even around us and that we think that we don't have that money. For instance, as a student, you're probably relying on pocket money or stipend. That is something that you can start with. We
mm,
can't keep looking at I don't have enough. If you have $100, if you have 10,000 naira, how do you spend that 10,000 naira? Start with that. No matter how little you have, start with it. And that was exactly how I started. Like I stopped looking from the income side. I look at what I have, how I make use of it, and how I can go forward with it. For instance, I did a book review about the richest man in Babylon sometime earlier, and the first thing they say is even if it is 1/10 of your income, keep it in your purse. If you
mm,
have 10 coins, keep one and spend nine. When you have another 10, keep one and spend nine. Now it's no longer one, it's it's two coins you have in your purse, right? So no matter how little you have, you can budget it because budgeting is a way for you to prioritize and use that money on the most important things. So it might be a long process, but when you start, you're beginning to see more direction, you're beginning to see more clarity. You begin to have your own equity contribution that you can use to start something. For instance, me leaving Kano State, Nigeria to Lagos State, Nigeria, I literally did not have to rely on people, family. No, I had just a little bit that I saved during my national youth service year. It's very little. Then it was about 30,000 naira per month.
mm,
But I had some things that I was saving there. And then even when I worked at my place, the amount was not much, but I still kept a portion from it. And when I needed to start that journey to take that step, I had something that I could rely on.
mm,
And then it's easier for me to now say, oh, mom, please come and add something for me. Oh, dad, please come and add something for me. Because they're like, oh, you have something, you're serious.
mm,
But when everything that comes in, regardless of how little it is, you spend everything and there is nothing set aside for future, then there's no way around it. Also, another thing I communicate is that the people I work with are people that are financially unstable. My priority is people that are financially unstable, and we transition from being financially unstable to becoming financially stable. When you're
mhm,
financially unstable, you have a lot of expenses, you have limited income, you don't have much savings, you're not investing. But when we start gradually managing what we have and redirecting it on things that are important, we'll, we'll transition from being unstable to making the most of our never enough income. That's like the keyword. It's never enough,
yeah,
but you must make the most of it basically. So you don't have to have millions to start. As
mhm,
little as you have, if you make judicious use of it, then you're on your way to doing better.
mhm. And actual conversation that I listened to, I think on an Africa Daily podcast somewhere.
Yeah.
Just on the other side, or the other coin of it, even
Yeah.
when you feel like you don't have enough, I'm asking you, should you still save? But then I was actually listening to this podcast and they were saying that a lot of the footballers or very rich kind of like Olympians or athletes, they themselves actually don't know how to budget and save. And
Yeah.
so there's actually, yeah, we were talking about a lot of, actually, if you look at a lot of African athletes or footballers, they, in their prime, they had a lot of
Yeah.
money through contracting to the clubs. But if
Yeah.
you look at them like after they've retired, a lot of the money
Yeah.
that they've earned is actually all gone. And it's because they don't have that financial literacy and understanding how to budget and save some. So even when you have a lot and you don't know how to budget, it can also be your own downfall, because you actually need that financial literacy and education to know how to put some money aside, how to invest for the
Yeah.
future. So it can actually happen when you earn a lot.
I was actually going to cite the same
Yeah,
example. So I love the
really,
fact that you brought that. Like
yeah.
really, I was at a conference, a workshop, I think 2 months ago, and it was about that particular topic. In fact,
Mm,
there was a professor that came from Ghana, and then he came to talk about Ghanaian footballers and what happens during retirement.
yeah.
So now financial literacy and being poor are kind of like it's not, should I say, they're somehow related and also somehow not related, because
Mm-hmm,
you could be rich and be financially literate and you will not make judicious use of that money. A lot
mm-hmm,
of footballers during their prime, they earn a lot of money. But when they retire, there is nothing. Why? Because the money comes, they did not make proper use of it. They do not know the know-how on how to plan for tomorrow. So when tomorrow comes, they have nothing to fall back on. So when you're, let's say, you have less and you're financially literate, there's a higher chance that when you have more, you'll be able to make very good use of it. But if, for instance, let me even cite gamblers. If you check a lot of statistics, gamblers make money, but then after a few weeks or years, sorry, the money is gone
yeah.
because they do not have the knowledge to make proper use of that money. So when they get the money, they spend it lavishly. After a while, it is gone. There is nothing left aside. And that's particularly why I'm still also interested with the people that are financially unstable.
Mm-hmm,
Because when you get this concept now, when you have this information, when you hold on to it, right, there is a higher chance that you're going to implement it and improve your financial situation. And when your financial situation gets better, you still have that knowledge. You still have the tools that you need to now multiply that income. So financial literacy is very, very, very important.
mm,
Whether you're rich, whether you're not rich. If you have the knowledge, you can use it to improve your financial health, to improve your financial well-being. So yes, like everything you say is spot on, is spot
mm.
on, right?
Yeah, it was quite shocking actually to hear that, because I think that in the podcast they were also comparing it to other Western countries and their own footballers or clubs or athletes. And oftentimes you when they retire, some of them are actually like owners of a football club or owners of this club and are still generating money somehow. But oftentimes I think it's also understanding that when you come from a poor background and you now have an opportunity to earn this much, it's so like overwhelming sometimes that you just don't know how to keep it because you've come from a poorer background. So oftentimes you
Yeah,
kind of like buy the things you never had, a car, or you buy
yeah,
multiple houses because you've never had that chance before, and you don't know when you're
yeah.
gonna not have it anymore.
Yeah, so that part you're talking about is also where the concept of financial therapy also comes
Mm,
in. That's an area I'm also looking toward, because at times the way we handle money, our relationship with money comes from our past experience,
mm,
comes from a trauma, comes from a point of lack. So it affects how you're going to behave when you get that money. But now that you do not have the money, is now that you have a higher chance of learning these terminologies better, understanding the concept of money, understanding what are the things you can do better, start applying. There's a higher chance that if you start applying this concept from now when you do not have, then there is a higher chance that you're going to like apply them even later, because now it's a behavior, it's a part of you, it's something you embody, right? So you always fall back to that tool. You're more prepared to navigate that kind of phase. But a lot of people get money and then they act somehow because before they came across that money, they do not have the financial concept to
mm,
do that. Now, also, if we look at the European part, the other Western countries too, you spoke something about their own footballers and comparing them to African countries. So, if we look at that too, we can as well compare, let's say, the level of financial literacy in Africa and those other countries. And it's quite different. And there are a lot of reasons why it is different. For instance, there are countries like Australia, I think Canada, UK, US. Financial literacy is integrated in their educational curriculum. even from lower grade level, maybe primary, secondary, they already start talking about all of those concepts to them, right? So they are more exposed. They have more financial knowledge than, let's say, like an average African has access to, right? For instance, I told you I graduated from a BSc in accounting, but they didn't really tell me how to create a save for myself or how to create a personal budget. It's more of about how to create a financial statement for a company. So there is no personal finance concept, even an account in an accounting student's curriculum.
Mm,
Not to talk of a science student or a law student,
mm,
right? It's not there. But in their own system, for instance, also their system is more of like a credit system where you guys use a lot of credit card, loan, mortgages. It's not something that Africans really relate to. We don't, a lot of people don't even use loan like that. It's not part of our own system, but that system is like a credit system. So you understand, you have to understand what a credit card is for, what it does, the concept of mortgages, a lot of people owning house. It happens there, but not as, it's not integrated in our day to day, right? So
mhm,
they have more financial exposure in that regards compared to Africa. Another one is the solutions that are available. For instance, a lot of, if you should check online now, financial management app, I can tell you all of or the top apps you're going to see are not incorporated in Nigeria or Ghana or Africa. No, they are foreign companies. For instance, you see QuickBooks, you see this, that one. It's Quicken, yes,
mm,
those kind of products, they are not African incorporated products. So they have a lot of affordable and accessible financial management solutions that
mm,
people can make use of. So this differences is part of the reason why the percentage of financial literacy in Africa and their own countries is like far apart. They have the tools, the solution, the information more than we are. But then I think it's a good fact that we're getting there. We're getting there, so we're making progress.
mm. Why do you think they don't teach you like at school? Or even you, how come? Why do you think it wasn't in your like curriculum to learn about personal budgeting?
To be honest, I'm not really sure I have the answer to that actually.
Mm,
I think it's just the academic curriculum. It's not part of, it's not integrated. It's not, it's one, in fact, to be honest, that's one of my driving force. That's one thing that I advocate for. It is one thing I want to see is in the next few years,
mm,
they teach financial literacy and financial, personal finance related stuff a part of academic curriculum.
yeah.
It's not there. That's one thing I want. I want it to be like, for instance, GSP in English, general English. There should be
Mm,
general financial knowledge. I want to
mm,
see that as a subject or as a topic for secondary students, for university students, and I'm going to see that inshallah, right? So
yeah.
that's one of the things that I want. I would love to see, I envision, because it's going to make a whole lot of difference. It's happening right now, but they're not at a, maybe at a federal level or at a national level. You have there are a lot of, let's say, financial management consulting firms that do these solutions for, maybe for children. You see, oh, financial coaching session for kids, enroll your kids, all those of one. No, there is that one, but it's not enough. It needs to be integrated and incorporated into our educational system. It should be a standalone
Yeah.
course, a general course, just the same way they will tell you to learn French or learn
Mm,
a language. It should be part of it. We should know the basics of money, the concept of money, and pending when that happens on a national level, I, for instance, will do that on my own personal level, right? I will keep communicating and advocating for that. And every opportunity I have, I'll go to schools, go to reach out to people and try to spread that word till it becomes something that is integrated in our educational system in Nigeria, in Ghana, in Kenya. It needs to.
yeah.
They're doing it in other countries. We too can adopt that terminology,
Mm,
because literate citizens, we affect the economy, we impact the economy. When people understand better the concept of money, then they'll make use of all of the funds available to them. They'll be able to make wiser decisions, and they'll be able to, definitely is going to have a ripple effect on the economy as a whole.
yeah. And I think just on this topic here, do you feel like the people that are more financially literate? reach out to
Yeah.
you more than people that are not. So, for example, if I earn a substantial amount and I know how to save, I'm familiar with it a little bit, but I'm still struggling. Do you feel like I am the type of person that will reach out to you more than people that are completely financially illiterate and are really not even familiar with saving or budgeting? Or is it just like everyone?
I would say the kind of people that reach out to me mostly are people that have some level of a source of income
Mm-hmm.
or a stream of income, and the ones that are more, let's say, generally literate, right?
Yeah.
The ones that are more educated, and also the people that kind of like care about their self.
Mm-hmm.
They want to do better for themselves. Now, people that have money are more interested in knowing. When I maybe, for instance, push out a post that resonates with them, they're like, "Oh, I think I am not really managing my finances very well. I think I can reach out to Hafsat to get a buy a budget tracker from her, a template that I can use." Or sometimes they feel more knowledgeable, and when I pass that information, they feel like they can just do it on their own. They can practice that,
Mm-hmm.
right? They can just adopt it on their own. So they are those type of people. But then there are other people that I feel like the ones that actually want to reach out, that would want to reach out to me, is the ones that are not financially, let's say, stable very well. But they have this reservation about the fact that, oh, I cannot afford a service, or, oh, I don't have money. Oh, they're always constrained with the fact that I don't have money, forgetting that, okay, when you, let's say, probably pay for that kind of service and somebody teaches you how to budget, how to do this, it has a ripple effect. They are more
Mm-hmm.
likely to first stick to the fact that, oh, I don't have money. I don't think I can afford this. Oh, for instance, when they hear the concept of financial planning, they were like, oh, I can't. It's just like therapy. You tell people that, okay, you need to visit a therapist. The first thing they'll tell you is, where do I have the money to afford? So it's one of those, should I say, roles or profession that people
Yeah.
immediately just feel like this person is going to take my money, or it's for rich people, it's a service
Mm-hmm.
for rich people,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think even actively, that's part of the reason why I like the area I am in. I want to relate more with the people on my level, relate more with people, the low income, the low class, the low, you get, like, people that don't have more, rather than just probably just be a wealth manager for people that are rich,
Mm-hmm.
because being rich already put them at a lot of advantage.
Mm-hmm.
But then people that are not rich do not have services like that, right? So if there's one thing I'm after, is making financial wellness more accessible and affordable for other people, because when they see that, okay, I might not be able to afford a full-blown financial planning session, but I can maybe enroll in a boot camp whereby within 3 months, somebody like Asa teaches me how to prepare a budget. And once I understand that, I can just keep applying that, adopting that till I get better, right? So make it more accessible and affordable to people, so that regardless of, even if you have just small knowledge about education or financial literacy, you can build upon that, right? So mostly, yes, most people, the ones that are not literate, they do reach out to me, yes. But I think it's more of people that feel like they have a level of, they're a bit ahead. They feel like they have more income they can spare to
Mm-hmm.
get more information and stuff like that. I hope I really answered this question.
Yeah, yeah, no. Because I had that suspicion as well that sometimes people that don't, they feel like they don't have enough, wouldn't want to
Yeah.
spend to get help because I feel like they
Yes.
already don't have
Yes.
enough. So now I'm spending for someone to tell me how to spend my money. So I did
Exactly.
feel like I think it's usually, but yeah, I just wanted to ask. Um, I also wanted to ask, do you have any on this podcast? We like to um have action points and talk about like, okay, what is some things that I can now do, or what are things that we can now put in action, that we're not just talking about this but we're actually putting in action. So for the listener, is there any action points that you would like them to start doing now or to look into?
Yeah. Okay. That's like, I thank you so much for that question. That's a very brilliant one. So there's one thing I'm going to say again, is start by managing your finances. Do you have a stream of income? Yes. Now that stream of income, how do you spend it? How do you make use of it? Do you like the spending pattern, the trend? Or are you just spending as the spirit lead, right? It's not going to take you anywhere. Are you using mental budgeting? You do all of the calculations in your head. You budget to buy something of 50,000. When you get to the market, you probably forgotten that your budget is
Mm,
50,000 because you didn't write it down or you went with excess money, right? So no matter how little you have, start managing your finances, track your expenses, embrace the habit of budgeting. Budgeting is not difficult. You're just outlining your income. I have $100. How will I spend it? Oh, $40 on feeding, $20 on transportation, $10 for this, and put the most important and essential things above your desires. Your needs are important. You need to pay rent, you need to transport yourself to work, you need to eat, and you need to wear proper clothing. But clothing at times is not something you buy all the time.
mhm,
Sometimes clothing can now become a desire, a want. And our desire is unlimited, right? So you need to put caution on it. Put a benchmark, put a provision. Make provision for personal spending, but not too much, something reasonable. At times, you need to defer it to future. You need to learn how to embrace delayed gratification. You want to go for a vacation, but now might not be an appropriate time. Now, probably your priority should be to pay for that cost that you want to pay for or to launch that business that you want to launch, right? Then keep something aside for vacation. You can do that maybe after 6 months or after 1 year. It will happen. In fact, when you see the money somewhere accumulating, you feel like, okay, I'm not going for vacation now, but I have my vacation fund staring at me. It is motivating me to do better, right? Embrace delayed gratification, track your expense, budget your money, and most importantly, start thinking of how you can increase your income, right? That is very, very important. And increasing your income most times is usually long term. Because you take on another job now doesn't mean it's going to make a lot of difference. At times, what you earn now might be just enough to cushion the effect of inflation, right? So, try to increase your income, maybe have a side hustle, start freelancing. Most times we get in the trap of upskilling and upskilling. We are learning by learning instead of us to be learning by doing. It's about time we start learning by doing, and then after a few months you can start monetizing that skill. You can start, for instance, I've been creating content on Money Chat with Hafsat, but I don't even tell people, oh, come and pay for this app. Come, no, 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 no. I'm not, I don't, no. There's no pressure, no stress, right? I want to communicate to you very well. Right now, the most important thing for me is for you to listen to this information. You don't need to use this myself, like reach out to me one on one to improve your finances. No. Make use of as much information as you can get for me. But if you now feel like you want to a more personalized level, you can now reach out to me, find a payment method that works for you and all of that. Embrace the concept of investing in yourself, investing in your earning capacity. So this are like a lot of things. It may sound overwhelming, but it actually is not. You can start somewhere. Most importantly, you can follow me at Money Chat with Hafsat. In fact, this past few days, I have been pushing out action-based content. I am teaching you how to do these things by yourself. If you think you cannot afford to let me do it for you, do it with you, then do it yourself, right? So manage your income. It's not about how much you earn, but rather about what you do with that money that you earn. That's my final words, really.
no, really good point. Really good point. Yeah, I love it. I feel like you get that was really motivating, and I think just understanding that if you have earned a lot but you don't do anything with that money, then what was the point? But it's kind of like, how
Yeah,
do you use that money? Every cent, every penny is important and should be used
exactly.
valuably.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, I think that was kind of like me rounding up. Do you have any point or question that you like to ask me, or anything that I didn't ask you and you wanted to talk about?
I think we actually really covered
Yeah.
everything there is. The thing about the concept of personal finance, we're really going to go on and on.
Yeah.
There is so much, right? But there's one thing I would like to say is your financial well-being is your responsibility, right?
Mm,
And it's not by how much you earn. Your financial well-being is not measured by your net worth, actually, right? You can have a lot of money but you don't feel satisfied, you don't feel okay, maybe an emergency will come now and then you don't know how to handle it,
Mm.
right? And there's one thing about our income. When you're earning 100,000, your expenses is going to be almost close to it.
Yeah.
If you start earning 1 million now, your expenses is going to grow and become 1 million. So if you don't know how to manage it, your financial well-being is going to be at stake. If you don't know how to navigate all of these things, if you're not proactive, your financial well-being is at stake. And our financial well-being, it's something that anybody can define what financial well-being means to them. For someone, it could be maybe being able to cater to your immediate responsibility and being able to do that on a sustainable like level in the next 5 years. You still feel okay. For another person, is not being broke. For another person, is like not working. For if it's like about retiring early and all of that, right? So whatever your financial, whatever your definition of financial well-being is, a way to achieving it is by managing your finances and making judicious use of it, understanding your income, understanding your expenses, understand money and all of monetary concept, right? So if you have this information and if you make use of it, you can achieve the level of financial well-being that you desire for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. No, thank you so much. I think that was a great way to round up, and I would definitely implode on people to follow Money Chat with Hafsah.
With Hafsat, yes.
Is it on LinkedIn only? Do you also have a website?
It's on IG. Yeah, it's on
IG
IG.
as well.
Money Chat with Hafsat. We're on TikTok too. But on LinkedIn, it's Hafsat Itanola, Itanola. I'm sure you're going to drop my name on the in the description. Yes. So
Yes,
on
yes,
LinkedIn,
I
you can
will.
find me with my name. But on Instagram and TikTok and on YouTube, yes, it's Money Chat with Hafsat.
Okay, so you heard it here. Honestly, even if you think you know it all, there probably is one or two things that you can still learn and you can still know about. It's always important just to keep yourself in a loop and understand more. But yeah, thank you very much for joining today. It's been a pleasure to have you, and honestly, really enjoyed this conversation with you. But yeah, thank you very much.
So much for inviting me, and thank you so much to everyone listening. Thank you so much for tuning in.